everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please disregard the microphone clip to my bra. I couldn't figure out a better way to do it, so just ignore it. I'm really excited to discuss my paycheck routine with you guys today. Before we get started, I just wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Gabby. I am 29 years old and I live in Vancouver, Canada. I really appreciate you joining me today. If you could like and subscribe, I would love that. And I just wanted to emphasize that I am not a financial expert. I don't have any credentials for finances. So this is not financial advice. This is just what works for me. Quick rundown on my financial situation. I am a salaried employee, so I get paid bi-weekly by my employer. I currently have no car debt or student debt, and I have no consumer debt. So I do not pay debt payments at this point. I also am currently renting, so I don't have a mortgage or any sort of property taxes, things like that. All right, so let's dive into it. The first thing that happens after I get paid is my investment and savings auto deposits get pulled from my checking account. So the same day I get paid, I have an automation with Wealthsimple that pulls money that like a specific amount that I set out of my checking account and deposits it into a savings account and into an investment account. So I have both a managed and self-driven investment account with Wealthsimple. Basically, the managed account is where Wealthsimple will take my money and invest it for me based on my risk tolerance and my time horizons, basically when I need the money. And the self-driven account is where I buy stocks myself with that money. I also have a high interest savings account with Wealthsimple. I think this is their cash account, and I am currently getting 4.5% interest on that account. So basically every month I get paid by Wealthsimple to hold my money in that account with them. My main focus right now is investing. I am in the last year of my 20s, and your 20s are the most critical years for compound growth and for building wealth by the time you retire. Basically, I try to invest 25% of my take-home pay at the very, very least. I am currently aiming for about 30%, but if something comes up and I need to take money away from that, a minimum is 25%. And this comes from the Money Guy here on YouTube. I love watching their show. And they basically always just stress how important 25% investment is, especially when you're younger. It makes a really, really big impact due to compound interest. So to drive this idea home, I'll throw some figures on the screen right now, but $1 invested at the age of 20, by the time you're 65, will turn into $88. So a very good return. 5 years later, when you're 25 years old, that same dollar invested is only worth $44. So basically 5 years later, that return has halved. And by the time you're 30, it has gone down to $23. So you can see like that exponential loss based on just that time that is taken away. So I like to keep this in mind. I'm still in my 20s. So if I can invest as much as I possibly can right now, that obviously will pay off later. But I also am not frugal in any way. I enjoy spending my money. So I just make sure I hit that 25% investment. And that basically makes me feel good about my money. All right, next up is my budget spreadsheet. So I will go to my budget and I will input in the expense tracking portion of the budget how much I got paid, how much I invested, and how much I saved. And basically this helps me keep my spreadsheet up to date so that I know exactly how much money I have left over once all of that money gets taken out from my pay. And this is also how I track my expenses and how much I'm expecting to pay on my credit cards. And I like using a spreadsheet just so I have one place and I can make sure that I have enough money for my bills and everything that's coming up. I am a credit card user, but I never carry a balance on my credit card. So I have to be very conscious of how much I spent last month to pay this month. So if I have a month where I spend a lot more than I typically do, I need to be mindful of that this month. And I might need to supplement my income with some savings to make sure I pay my credit card off in full. The budget spreadsheets that I typically have used in the past aren't very good at tracking this if you are a credit card user. Basically, you need to look in the past to typically figure out how much you need to be paying that bill today. I am currently working on a budget spreadsheet that I hope to be selling, hopefully in December, that basically will be for a credit card user. So I don't typically leave a large buffer in my checking account. Basically, a buffer is just like an additional amount of money in your checking account just in case. So some people like to leave about $1,000 extra, and that would just be for any sort of, potential issues that could come up. I typically don't leave a buffer in my checking. I leave like a couple hundred, but I do not leave $1,000 by any means. And that is just because, for psychological reasons, I don't like logging in and seeing a bunch of money, because then I will spend that money. So I just like to keep this number, or I just like to keep only what I need in my checking account. And if I log in and see $200, that keeps me feeling a little bit poor. I don't necessarily recommend this for everyone. I think if you are anxious with money, or a little nervous about how much money, especially if you have variable pay, I would highly recommend having a buffer in your checking account. So as far as my day-to-day expenses go, I will sit down at the beginning of the month and I will set a budget. And I will divide my money into different categories depending on what's coming up this month. So I will make sure to check my calendar and see if there are any weird events coming up, like birthdays, Christmas. Maybe my favorite store has a sale that month. But yeah, so I just like to stay on top of what's coming up and, try to plan for those things so that I'm not surprised when I end up spending a bunch of money on something. I make sure that all of my expense categories always add up to less than obviously what I make divided or subtracted with all of my investment savings and my bills. But there are definitely some months where I will spend a bit more than what I budgeted. We're not perfect. In that case, I will supplement my income with some of my sinking funds or my savings. Basically, a sinking fund is an account that you specifically save for a certain goal. You can set up sinking fund buckets or accounts. I use Wealthsimple for this as well. They let you make, I think it's unlimited savings accounts, where you can just set the name of the account to whatever you want, and then you can set up auto deposits for these accounts. So for example, I use a sinking fund to save for my car insurance. Every year, my car insurance is due in May, and it's typically about $1,500. So I will divide 1,500 by 26 paychecks in the year. And then I will take that amount and I will set that as my auto save into that account. And then by the time May comes, I have exactly $1,500 ready to go for that bill. This is how I save for trips, beauty treatments, Christmas, and this just helps me make sure that I never carry a credit card balance. All right, so that is basically how I manage my money. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me today. I really hope that you would like and subscribe. That would mean so much to me. And I can't wait to see you again for another video. Bye for now.